What are the most successful and impactful entrepreneurs doing in 2024 to start, grow, and scale their businesses? That is exactly what I'm going to be breaking down for you in today's video. So this video is actually a training that I gave for my high-level private coaching clients, showing them my methodology called Start, Grow, Scale, which is a framework for consistently generating high-paying clients and going from just an idea to a multi-million-dollar business. And this was exactly the framework that my wife and I learned through a lot of trial and error that we implemented to go from an idea to $1 million business in 12 months. And since then, a $30 million coaching and consulting company that was number 171 on the Inc. 500 list and the fastest growing coaching and consulting company in America. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is a framework. It's not about finding a magic pill strategy. It's not about being one funnel away or having a New York Times best-selling book or a massive social media following or doing a bunch of content posting or having a top podcast. It's about understanding that there are 3 stages of growth, from 0 to 250,000, 250 to $1 million, and $1 million and beyond. And at each stage of growth, there's specific business foundations you have to have in place that 99% of entrepreneurs don't, and a specific strategy to implement at each stage of growth that'll help you grow and scale your business. So again, whether you're just getting started or you've hit that income ceiling and you're looking at creating more predictability and consistency and high-paying clients, you're going to absolutely love this training. Now, you're going to hear in this training that I talk about a 2-day virtual event. That's because a couple of years ago when I gave this training, I was also doing a virtual event. I've decided to do that event again. It's coming up November 8th through 10th. And so if you're interested after watching this training and spending 3 days with me and my team and hundreds of other impact-driven entrepreneurs from the comfort of your own home, where we support you in implementing everything that we're talking about, you're definitely going to want to check out that link. Again, it's in the description of this video. You can click on it, check out all the details, and save your seat. So without further ado, please enjoy, and I hope you do as much as I enjoyed recording it, this training on how to start, grow, and scale your business in 2024.
So as I mentioned, I have been really excited to give this training because it's essentially a snapshot into everything you need to understand in order to take your business from brand new to multiple 7 figures, if that's how big you want to build your business. And the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs, at least speaking for myself, well, actually I can say for entrepreneurs because we've now worked with so many entrepreneurs at every stage of growth, and I'll define these stages for you, is having a map, having a plan. It's really challenging not knowing where you should be focusing your attention, whether that's in some of the foundations of your business, like who your ideal client is, or whether that's in the strategies that you're going to apply depending on the stage of growth. And the truth is that all of these components, which I'm going to fill them in for you, evolve over time. So the ideal client or the strategy that you focus on at the start phase is different than at the growth stage and different at the scale stage. And so having a map of where you're at and what you should be focusing 90% of your attention on is absolutely paramount. And in the market today, it's almost like I describe the entrepreneur's carousel. There are just so many programs and strategies that we can be implementing, from funnels to podcasts to writing a book to networking to masterminds to social media marketing, search engine optimization, content marketing. Where do we focus our attention? So I'm going to be breaking that all down for you in this training. And this is essentially the curriculum that I'm going to be teaching at a 2-day virtual event that I'm going to give you an opportunity to join me at the end of this training, if you actually want me to help you define all of this and build this with you. So let's start by talking about the 3 stages of growth that we see that have very specific strategies and a very specific evolution of the foundational aspects of your business, which again, I'll share with you what we see that those are. The 3 stages of growth. So the first stage is start. And start is really 0. It's from like client number 1 up to about $250,000 in revenue. And there's a specific reason for why it's up to 250,000. And part of that I'll explain it, that eventually at the start phase, as you're implementing the types of offers that we believe are appropriate for the start phase, eventually you're going to run out of you. And so you have to evolve a lot of what you've created to get to the next level, which is grow. And grow is a business that's somewhere between $250,000 a year in revenue to up to 1 million in revenue. Now, you may be saying, hey, I'm just trying to get my first client. And I totally understand that. And we're going to talk about what you need to be focused on to get your first client. Or maybe it's your first $10,000 client. Or maybe it's your first $10,000 month, because you'd still be in the start phase. But I also want you to understand what the road ahead looks like so that you have the power of anticipation. And you might actually be at the growth stage or a high start stage. You may be having consistent $10,000 months or $15,000 months or $20,000 months, but you've hit a plateau. Or like a lot of entrepreneurs we see, you've gotten up to 200, 300, 400, 500, even some of my private clients who've gotten up into million plus revenue a year businesses, but you've slid backwards because it wasn't sustainable. So at Grow, we're looking at $250,000 to $1 million a year in revenue. And scale is really around 1 million plus. And I could do a whole nother training about the various stages of scale from 1 to 3 million, 3 million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, 10 million to 20 million, and how the business needs to change and evolve as you go from start, grow, scale. But this training, which is called Start, Grow, Scale, right, is really about understanding what you need to be focusing on at each stage. So we're going to start with your ideal client. And I'm not going to go deep into a training of who your ideal client is, what some people refer to as your client avatar, right? It's the perfect client for who you want to serve, and defining how to create that for yourself, because that's what we're going to do during the virtual intensive. But what's important to understand is that this will evolve over time. In the beginning, you're going to have an ideal client, right? An ideal client. And if you just take a look at our business as an example, right? An early stage entrepreneur, right? Who's working on, as I mentioned before, getting their first client, getting their foundations in place, getting their entrepreneurial MBA, getting their mindset MBA, right? Getting who they are and the knowledge and understanding of business into its kind of foundational place. That's who we started serving at the initial stages of our business. But what eventually happened is that entrepreneur grew as we were able to support start stage entrepreneurs into multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in revenue. Our ideal client changed. And so eventually we had a more mature ideal client, right? Which was this growth stage. And the reason why that's important is because the messaging to the start stage entrepreneur, or who you start working with, is very different than who you may be working with later on as your business evolves and grows. And this is important for those of you who are already at grower scale, because you may be having a challenge kind of getting into those categories from start. And the reason is you don't realize that you're expanding your ideal client, or you've got more than one ideal client. For our business today, for example, we work with start stage entrepreneurs, growth stage entrepreneurs, and scale stage entrepreneurs. And so since we're at the scale stage, and I'm going to share with you what I think the most important strategy at scale is, but this is a little bit of a spoiler alert. If you're doing online advertising, if you're running Facebook ads or YouTube ads, you're doing funnels, the messaging to each of these types of ideal clients is very, very different, right? And I'm incorporating that messaging into the training, right? We're talking about, hey, if this is where you're at and you just have an idea and you want to get started, or you've been trying to get your business off the ground or pursue your passion, right? That's a start stage languaging versus, hey, have you been in business for a while? You've got some consistency, but you're starting to run out of you. You've got a nicely profitable business, but maybe you're having some challenges beginning to hire a team and getting the right people in the right positions so that you can decentralize yourself. That's messaging for a growth stage business. So ideal client, right, who you serve, is going to expand and evolve over time. So this is the only time you're going to see me put check boxes up here, because I'm not getting into how to define your ideal client. But just by definition, it's the person or the type of organization or business that you want to serve. Now, this is a really important component. And that's the reason why I have it on the board, because it informs everything else. Everything else that I'm going to reveal to you as components that change over the course of Start, Grow, Scale are informed by the ideal client. I'll share more with you in a moment, but in the market, this is not gone deep enough into. who you actually serve. And so one of the challenges is that a lot of people think they've actually defined their ideal client, but they haven't defined it deeply enough. And so some of these other components don't resonate when you go out with your marketing. So for example, men between the ages of 30 and 50 is not specific enough as an ideal client. When you talk about defining your ideal client, you want to get into the emotional experience. It could be, for example, stay-at-home mothers who are trying to generate additional income while balancing the amount of time they have to spend caring for the children, right? That's a very specific type of experience. Or on the flip side of that, successful professional women who are trying to elevate their leadership in the workplace in a natural, feminine, expressive way, and are trying to also balance their relationship, playing supermom, and their other responsibilities. So this has to be really teased out well in order for the second piece to fall into place, which is your messaging. Your messaging and your market position. And so your messaging is going to be reflective of who you serve. So if you're not completely dialed in on who you serve, your messaging is going to be generic. And we find that a lot, right? Especially in the helping business, in the transformational space. It's like, I work with people who want to have a better life, or I work with businesses who want to generate more leads, or I work with individuals who are struggling with their health. That's white noise in the marketplace. So because there's so much information coming at us on a day-to-day basis, whether it's through our Facebook feed, or whether it's through the media, or whether it's just through the dynamic activity and action of life, we have to be able to grab someone's attention within a couple of seconds. And you know that to be true because that's what advertisers have to do in order to get your attention. And so your messaging has to be spot on with communicating the fears, the frustrations, the challenges, the desired outcome, false problem that your client thinks is the problem. Your messaging has to be able to communicate effectively to someone to create the feeling of, oh my God, it's almost like they're reading my mind. We talk about going into the moment and really like looking through the window as if you were almost spying on someone and describing their psychological and emotional experience. When you're able to do that, then it's like a dog whistle call to your ideal client to respond to the messaging that you're putting in the marketplace. But if you don't have this ideal client dialed in, then you're not going to be able to have messaging that resonates, right? Because you're not going to be able to speak again to sort of the emotional experience and the practical experience and the psychology of what's going on with your ideal client. And so oftentimes what we see is that the messaging doesn't continue to track and evolve with the ideal client. Okay. So if you're having a challenge right now, either getting your business off the ground or getting into a place where you have financial freedom in your business and predictability, or going from start to grow or scale, it may be because your messaging needs to evolve, and likely because there are different sets of ideal clients that you could be serving. Okay. Now, the next foundational piece, ideal client is number one. Messaging is number two. The third one is offers. Offers. And when we get started, we generally find that the offer that we start out with is something that would look like one-to-one, right? One-to-one. One-to-one. That might be one-to-one consulting. That might be one-to-one coaching. Maybe you're a digital marketing agency and you're working with one client at a time and you're very hands-on, right? It's almost like the example from an agency standpoint would be almost a do it for you type of service. And so this is really labor intensive. It's really time intensive, but you can build a $250,000 business doing this. But at some point you run out of you to be able to serve people. And so when you start to bottleneck with a one-to-one type of offer, right? Eventually we need to move into a one-to-many in order to grow. One-to-many. One-to-many. And what happened when we transitioned from one-to-one to one-to-many is that the price point that we had in our one-to-one now becomes our one-to-many price point. And so just a very simple example of this would be you might be charging $5,500 a month to work with you for in a 3-month program, one-on-one. And as you create predictability in your business by implementing the strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you, and you become the bottleneck, what you do is you start a group program, group coaching, group consulting. It could be same type of structure, 8 weeks, 90 days. It could be something like an intensive, a 2 or 3 day intensive, but you're going to work with many people at once for approximately the same amount that you were charging for your one-on-one. And your one-on-one is now going to become a premium service. So you may increase, for example, working with you for 90 days to something like $10,000 for 90 days, right? Let's call it $3,500 a month to be working with you. Or people can access you for what your, the investment level was prior to work with you directly at, say, $3,500 or $5,500. But now that can be run in a group environment, right? And so, one of my mentors said, when you start running out of you in your business, in order to go from, he didn't call it this at the time, but start to grow, you have to find a way to fire some of your clients. And the way you fire some of your clients is by increasing your price point to work with you directly, but giving people an opportunity to still access you, but within the group environment. When you get to scale, you've built up a couple of things. You've built up some amazing testimonials because you've been working with people. You've built up social proof. So your ideal clients are now confident that you can actually deliver on whatever the outcome is. And here we want to launch something like a high ticket is the language that's used, or high price group program, right? Or something like a mastermind, right? And this could be something like a 1-year program. It varies depending on the type of space that you're in or what type of business you are. But this could look something like a $30K 1-year program. You still have your lower ticket, shorter term, kind of 3-month, 4-month, 6-month, get your feet wet group coaching program. And again, when you launch the next level of your offer at scale, you're also again increasing the price to work with you one-on-one. So just for example, when I started, I was doing one-on-one coaching for $125 an hour. That was before I understood offer theory. I realized that rather than working hourly, I needed to essentially put together an offer or a package. And so I created a 90-day, $3,500 coaching package. And if you just do the math on that, I was coaching every week before for $125, $150. That's about $600 a month. But for 3 months at $3,500, it's around, $1,100, $1,200 a month. So I increased my effective hourly rate, and I had people who committed for a longer period of time. At some point, I ran out of myself as I started to get up to about $150,000, $200,000 a year. I was coaching around 20 clients at a time. I was spending a lot of time on the phone. And so I increased my one-on-one prices to work with me to 6 months rather than 3 months at $5,000 a month. So now it was $30,000 to work with me one-on-one, but I launched a 90-day group coaching program for $5,500. So this is how your offers evolve as you go from start to grow to scale. And what I'm really wanting to impress upon you is you don't have to have a bunch of different offers at start. A lot of people have like their $197 digital program, and they've got a group coaching program too early in the start phase. And so now they're scrambling to try to fill it, or they're looking at doing a live event or a high ticket mastermind, and they're struggling to try to get butts in seats or to fill their mastermind or their live event. And if you can focus on just the right offer at the right stage of growth, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of everything for you. Now, there's still sort of a science to how do I price this, and how long do I actually work with my client? What are some of the features and benefits? And do I work with them weekly or every other week or monthly? And we'll go into those details at the 2-day intensive. But what I want you to see is that if you're having a challenge getting from one stage of growth to the next, it may be time not only to expand and focus on a second or a third ideal client and to evolve your messaging to speak to those people, but it's most likely time for you to add another offer and to move from a one-on-one type of offer structure into working with many, right? And the great thing about this is that you can make a greater impact while you do that too. One of the things we'll be talking about at the 2-day intensive is how do you start to replace yourself in all of this? How do you bring on other team members onto your team who can be doing coaching or training or management of your clients for you so you can continue to elevate yourself out of your business and not get bogged down and be able to go from start to grow to scale. So this is an example of how the offers will evolve over time across this structure or this curriculum. I wanted to mention this, which is enrollment. Not that it particularly changes a lot over the course of taking your business from an idea to $1 million plus. But most entrepreneurs just never get classically trained in influence, persuasion, and enrollment. In fact, most of us have a tremendous aversion to sales. There's this idea that we have to hard close someone or that sales is sleazy because we've been the recipient of sleazy sales, right? And sort of, but there's no judgment around this, but the sort of the stereotypical car salesman or insurance salesman or hard sales, maybe timeshare. And the truth is, and I'm going to be talking about this at the 2-day virtual, is that enrollment is an incredibly sacred opportunity. It's actually almost a coaching opportunity where I guess I would describe it as synchronicities or coincidence of the universe has brought you together with an organization or an individual who's been asking for a solution, and you've sort of shown up as the answer to their prayer. And the opportunity in the enrollment conversation is to truly help someone see that there is a new opportunity, but that they have a problem. And they've had this problem for a while. And they've tried many things to solve this problem, and it still hasn't worked. And the fact that they have this problem is creating this butterfly effect of pain and discomfort and frustration, both in their business, if you're working with businesses, and in their lives, right? And not just for themselves, but for the important people and the experiences around them. So the enrollment opportunity is this sacred opportunity to help someone get really real with their life and to help them break the pattern that's been keeping them stuck in that reality, right? We talk about this idea of objection handling, right? This idea of I don't have the money or I don't have the time, or I'm not so sure that you can deliver on the results. And I'm going to be talking during the 2-day virtual intensive about some of these common objection handlers. But what it really is helping someone see that they're stuck in these psychological patterns, these belief systems that until they're willing to break them are going to continue to perpetuate the problem. The problem may be not enough leads in their business, or a brand that doesn't feel congruent, or challenges in their relationship or their health or their finances or in their spiritual growth. And so the developing enrollment skills is part of this critical foundational structure that is required in order for you to be successful at any stage of growth. And so these components right here, these 4 pieces, are what we call the core 4. The core 4. And these are the 4 pieces: who you serve and how that evolves over time, how you communicate them and position yourself in the market different than everyone else and in a very resonant way with that ideal client, and how that evolves over time. Your offers, your offer structure, the benefits, the features, the pricing, bonuses for people to actually take action, right? Including some form of limited time opportunity or scarcity, again, to help people move through their limiting beliefs and resistance into the solution, and how that evolves over time. And having fundamental understanding of human psychology and persuasion and influence, and being able to not only help someone get massive clarity on how the challenge they're experiencing is affecting them in their business and their life, but also to support them in the psychological overcoming of the resistance that they've had that's been keeping them stuck. This is the core 4. And these are the foundations of your business. The truth is that if we can get you trained up and dialed in on this foundation, a lot of different strategies can work for you. Now, I'm going to suggest to you what we believe the 3 most effective strategies are for these stages of growth, based on our own experience of having tried a lot of different things and having a lot of things not work for us. But as entrepreneurs, and there's a reason why I left this for later in this training, as entrepreneurs, we're addicted to this. We're addicted to the strategies. We believe that the problem is not, we believe that the problem is that we don't have the right strategy. And if we can just find the magic pill strategy, then that will allow us to consistently and predictably generate high paying customers or clients. And one of the challenges is that we buy into marketing messaging that's communicating to that, right? Like there's this idea that you're one funnel away, right? And it's just not true. Or that you're one book away, or that you're just need to start a podcast. And we see models for this in the market, but we don't really know the backstory for how those experts truly built the success that they built. And actually, this strategic model that I'm going to show you is what 90% of any of the experts, regardless of what strategy they're selling, actually use to grow their business. Because the truth is that most of the leading, for example, strategic teachers of how to start a podcast and make money from it, they aren't using their podcast to enroll you into their podcast training program, right? Those who are, for example, teaching people how to run masterminds aren't actually using masterminds to get you to enroll into their mastermind training program. And so this was something that Carol and I, my wife, realized early on was, hey, rather than listen to what they're telling us to buy from them, let's actually study what they're doing. And let's replicate that. And as it turned out, what they're doing was fairly unanimous. Almost everybody was doing the same thing. But even with the strategic perspective that I'm going to be sharing with you, if you don't have these dialed in, right, absolute clarity and refinement on who you serve, a powerful way to communicate to them that you are the one to be working with them and that you understand what their experience is and a positioning that's different than the rest of the market. And if you don't have the type of offers that allow you to go from start, grow, scale and that are structured and priced and presented in such a way that it's resonant with your ideal client, if you don't have enrollment and persuasion skills, when you finally get to the point of conversion or transaction to help someone get over the edge, it doesn't matter what strategy that you implement. And so most of the entrepreneurs that we work with, who then we support in growing from start to grow to scale, have been going around and around and around on this kind of strategic entrepreneur's carousel. And what's true is that this piece really needs to be dialed in, right? Once it is, then we can get the strategies to work. And as I mentioned before, we work with entrepreneurs at multiple levels of development, start phase entrepreneurs, growth stage entrepreneurs, and scale stage entrepreneurs. We have entry level programs where we work with the start stage entrepreneurs and more robust, further in development programs to work with growth stage entrepreneurs. And then all of my private clients are scale stage entrepreneurs. When we work with them to help them create immediate cash increases in their business, not only to pay for their investment in our programs, but just so that they can achieve the next level of financial freedom. No matter what stage of growth they're at, we actually come back to these four. Because what we almost always find is it's not the strategy that is the problem, it's the foundations. Or at least we can create an immediate cash event and revenue event in either from their existing clients or attracting new clients by starting to make some of the changes in this core four structure, right? Adding on another ideal client that they should be working with now, coming up with more effective messaging to help them be even more resonant to the marketplace, or rolling out another offer either to new clients or to their existing clients, or even looking at how they're currently participating in enrollment. But that takes us to strategy, right? Which is where we all tend to be focused. And there are three strategies that we have found to be the most effective at each stage of growth. So let's take start. Start is what we call, and I'm going to go ahead and come up in here, is what we call activating your network. Activating your network. And this tends to be, let's call it one-to-one marketing. Okay. Activating your network. What does activating your network mean? Well, what it means is that through the people you're connected to and the people they're connected to, we believe that you have your next 6 figures in your business available to you. Marketing requires a certain set of skills that you can learn over time and that we teach in our curriculum when we get to the next stage. But in the meantime, you need to be generating revenue now. And so you have your network and your network's network. I think I looked on my LinkedIn just as an example, not that I'm talking specifically about LinkedIn. And I'm connected to, I don't really use LinkedIn. So I'm connected to like 72, 100, maybe it's 200. I can't remember when I looked, people on LinkedIn. It's not a lot. But the people that they're connected to makes up about 1.2 million people. So it's not just my network, it's my network's network. And so the first stage of strategy is actually leveraging your existing meta network, right? Learning how to powerfully articulate. And that's why the core 4 is so important. What you do and who you serve and how you're different, having the clarity and the confidence to be able to powerfully communicate what you do to your existing network. Because the challenge isn't that you don't have prospects in your existing network, but at the start stage, it's that you're not confident because you're not clear. And so confident is resonant, right? Confident just attracts people to you to want to know more about what it is that you do, whether they're prospects or whether they're part of facilitating introduction to other prospects, what we call champions, right? Other people in your network who can connect you to their network. And so at the start stage of growth, there's a specific set of kind of micro strategies around activating your network, utilizing your social media, utilizing the physical world and real relationships, utilizing live and virtual events to build your network and your relationship capital, and then implementing a set of micro strategies where you're showing up powerfully communicating what it is that you do to the right people, and then creating enrollment opportunities. One of the ways that I learned this was that I was at a live event and I had been working on my core 4, and I was at dinner with a bunch of people after we finished up a day at this business training event that we went to with some other expert or guru, where I was learning their magic pill strategies. And so we were at dinner and someone said, well, what do you do? And I had dialed this in. So I was able to really powerfully communicate who I served and how I served them. And out of that group of people, the next morning, one of them came running up to me as I was waiting to get in line to the event and said, hey, I can't stop thinking about what we talked about last night. I think you really could help me. What does it cost to work with you? Now, I had already studied enrollment and persuasion. I knew what my offer was. So with confidence and clarity, I said, and this was brand new for me at this time. This was in my transition from coaching at $125 an hour. I said, well, normally it's $100,000 a year to work with me, but why don't we start out at 6 months at $5,000 a month? He said, well, what would that look like? I said, well, we'll have an hour-long conversation every month, and I run one group coaching call with all of my clients on a monthly basis. You'll also have text access to me. And he said, great, send me the contract. And I have my first call on Friday. And I was like, oh my God, like I just signed up a $30,000 client, right? 6 months at $5,000. But I looked back on it and it was because I was prepared, right? And I was in my network activating it, being confident and being clear. And I had a lot of other people in my network in the early days who said, hey, I'm really inspired by what it is you do, and I think you could help some businesses or individuals that I know. I'd love to make an introduction. And so you can build a healthy 6-figure business a year just activating your network. And of course, it becomes easier and easier and easier over time. It's also become easier because we have social media right now that we can leverage, and we teach specific strategies that show you how to communicate authentically and powerfully what it is that you do so that those around you who could be served by that begin self-selecting them into enrollment conversations where you have the clarity and the confidence to close them. And by close them, I mean support them in transforming their life or their business in exchange for a significant amount of revenue, because that's the value that they're providing them. The second strategy, eventually, right? You want to be able to go from one-to-one marketing to one-to-many marketing. And so in order to do that, you need to have a second strategic asset, which is what we call a high converting presentation. A high converting presentation. And so I'll tell you the story about as I got to the growth stage, I had been activating my network. I had been enrolling clients through my network's network, leveraging what we teach and what we call champions. And through my network, I was actually invited to go and present to a group of 14 business owners in Atlanta. And so I developed a high converting presentation. Now, what did this presentation consisted of? That's why we call it a core 4 presentation. It consisted of elements that spoke to my audience in a powerful way. The presentation clearly articulated who my ideal client was. The presentation clearly articulated my messaging, what made me different. I taught 3 things, which we teach you how to do in our presentation structure. And then my presentation incorporated how to present my offer and some objection handling even before I stopped the presentation. So I presented to these 14 entrepreneurs. It was for a business networking group in Atlanta that I was invited to speak at from one of my, the people I developed a relationship with in my network, who knew of my work and was inspired to support me. And I enrolled 3 people. And so at that time, to work with me was, again, around $30,000, for 6 months. And so it was almost $100,000 afternoon. And so this is how we're actually able to go, right, from start to grow, right? We experience this almost like hockey stick type of growth because now through the power of educational marketing, sharing your knowledge and expertise, whether it's in person, whether it's through a webinar, whether it's through like this is a presentation, right? I'm just not using slides. I'm sharing with you my story and I'm speaking to you as my ideal client. I'm actually showing you what the challenge is in your business and where you think you have a strategic problem, but you actually have a systemic opportunity. You use the presentation. You could do it as a Facebook Live. So for example, we have one of our clients who was a money mindset coach that was invited by a champion of hers, somebody in her network, to present to a group of 50 or 60 people through a Facebook Live in a private group, made $13,000 over the course of 60 minutes. So this is the second strategy that becomes implemented. The presentation is the most powerful asset and weapon that you can have in your strategic arsenal. Whether you're delivering from stage, whether you're doing it virtually, whether you're doing it to a women's group or a men's group, or whether you're delivering a presentation after the yoga class. If your ideal client is yogis and yoginis, because you teach or train on something that they need to solve their problem, the presentation allows you to go from one-on-one to one-to-many, and also to begin to play in the virtual space. Because of course you can do webinars and virtual presentations. The next stage of growth, right, is that you want to automate all of this. But I want you to really pay attention to something important here. When we get to scale, we will want to start participating in what's called online marketing. Okay? Online marketing. Just taking a step back, there's one other opportunity with presentations at the growth stage that allows us to go from 252 million, and that's partnerships. Right. So, we have had, I would say probably 30 to 40% of the $20 million in revenue we've generated over the last 50 years as a result of partnerships. So those were people who had their own community that invited me to present virtually through a webinar to their community. And so for those of you if you're familiar with some of our programs, we have a digital program called the Mind Hack program. And so I would make that offer at the end of a webinar to someone else's community, and I would split the sales with them 50-50. But, what we're leveraging is other people's communities here, right? You're going to speak on a stage. You're going and presenting to a church group. You're speaking at a conference. You're doing a live stream into someone else's Facebook group. You're doing a webinar presentation to someone else's community. They've mailed their list and said, hey, we want you to show up. You got to hear Bob, or you got to hear Susan's training on this topic, right? So you're leveraging other people's communities. And when you get to online marketing, you're essentially leveraging the platform, right, of say Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. But this opportunity, this third strategy, is being sold at an earlier stage than is appropriate. So we do online marketing, but we have a team of 25 people now as we've grown our business, and become one of the fastest growing, coaching and consulting companies in our space. I have people dedicated to this. We work with a third party agency. We have to spend $10,000+ a month just to have our traffic managed. We're consistently testing new ads and having video editors edit them and testing variations of copy, right? It's not something that you can do unless you have the support of a team, or unless you've got a significant budget. And so many entrepreneurs are getting into this before they're at the $1 million plus stage. And as a result, they're failing, right? And then, that starts to create a momentum of wondering what's wrong with us and why isn't it working. There's actually nothing wrong with you. What's happened is that you've bought into somebody else's idea that you're one funnel away. And listen, even for a business at our stage of growth, we're not one funnel away, right? We've got to build a lot of different iterations to try to get someone's attention who's never heard of you before, in 1.5 seconds as you fly through their news feed. So this is the third key strategy, but it's only for scale stage businesses, right? You have to have these other pieces in place, because while you're working on kind of perfecting this online marketing thing, which takes time and a lot of money, you have to make sure that you're continuing to bring in clients and bring in cash flow with these earlier stage strategies. And one of the things we haven't talked about here is how to grow and scale your team over time, but that also maps to start, grow, scale, because as you start out as an entrepreneur, you're sort of wearing all the hats and you have to start delegating those to new people in your organization. We'll talk a little bit about that at the 2-day virtual intensive. So these are the 3 key strategies: activating your network, which is kind of one-on-one marketing. It's not the sexiest. It's not the most elegant. It required the most amount of work, but that's what we do at the start stage, right? But it works if you work it. The next is having a presentation and going out and presenting into different, what we call ecosystems, where your ideal clients are, and leveraging other people's environments where they've already gathered your ideal client and partnering with them. And the third strategy is online marketing. What you'll notice is nowhere in here is social media marketing. Nowhere in here is a podcast. Nowhere in here is a book. Nowhere in here is content marketing. Nowhere in here is search engine optimization. Nowhere in here is challenges or masterminds or summits. And those are all things that we do, and we've done them successfully, but we've done them at the scale stage of growth. In the very beginning, it was my wife and I and one other team member, and we were able to build up to the grow scale bridge just through implementing these strategies, which don't require a lot of tech, don't require significant ad budget, and don't require a tremendous amount of time. That's not saying you're not going to work in your business, right? This is not a get rich quick presentation. But what I'm suggesting is that there's a simplicity to all of this, especially if you've got a coach or a mentor and a curriculum kind of walk you through how to do each of these individual pieces. And of course, that's what we offer in the foundation of all of our programs and what we're going to be doing together at the 2-day virtual intensive that's coming up. There's one more piece here that ties the whole map together. And again, my goal in this training was to give you the treasure map, right? The treasure map, so you can identify where you are and what you need to be focused on at that stage of growth and what's coming up next, so that you can begin to have the power of anticipation and prepare for the road ahead. And that is this piece down here. And this piece, which I talked about before, hey, like you can have success if you've got your core 4 dialed in, regardless of the strategy you choose to implement. You can make it harder for yourself if you choose a different strategy, but eventually you'll be clear, you'll be confident, you'll be resonant, you'll pick up clients. You may not have a predictable way to do that. That's why I'm sharing with you these strategies. I want you to have predictability and not be dependent on coincidence or hope marketing or referrals that you can't control, right? These allow you to actually begin to control your own business and financial destiny. But just like you can be successful with the core 4 without the strategies, and you can't really be successful with any of the strategies unless you have the core 4 dialed in, there's actually something that's required any of this to work. And it's this thing called mindset. And if you're part of my community, you know that we lead with mindset. In fact, even though we have phenomenal business trainings and curriculums and coaching and support, what we're known for is being on the leading edge of this conversation around personal development, and not just motivating you to get into your business so you can hustle and grind it, but an understanding that your brain is a goal achieving machine and that your beliefs are actually dictating the thoughts and ideas that you have, the perceptions you have. It's driving the unconscious behavior that you're not even aware of, what events you choose to attend or the people you choose to sit down next to. Your brain is a goal achieving machine and it's operating according to your beliefs. And that's why, for example, some people say, well, I keep getting prospects that I speak to, but they don't have the financial resources to invest with me. And that's always because that individual has their own limiting beliefs around money. Or we find people at the growth or scale stage that say, hey, I'm trying to hire new team members. I'm burning out. I can't do it all. And that's because we find that they have beliefs that if you want to do it right, you have to do it yourself, or you can't trust others to do it well. And so the foundational component of all of this, and what is really informing your reality as an entrepreneur, are your beliefs. And what we're now understanding is that you can actually transform your beliefs. Again, if you're here, personal development is probably something that's not brand new to you, but there's a space that many of us get stuck in, which I call self-awareness purgatory, where we become very aware of our limiting beliefs, but we don't know how to change them. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is spending an entire day at the 2-day virtual intensive on this thing called mindset, right? Day one is going to be helping you map out and go into even greater detail on every single one of these components. But day two is going to be taking a look at your resistance to your own success. Where do you feel like you're not deserving or you're not good enough? Because as Henry Ford said, if that's what you believe, you're right. And it will be very hard for you to produce results in your business if you think you're not deserving of them. If you're insecure about sharing your message, right? It's going to be very hard for you to show up powerfully and confident and resonant so that your prospects can see you and find you. If you believe money's hard to make, or money comes but it doesn't stay very long, or maybe money is the root of all evil and that's not who you want to be, you're going to find it very difficult to produce income and generate revenue. And so on one level, we start to look at our business and go, well, what do I need to change? But the truth is that we have to align ourselves first. We have to get our mindset right. And so I'm going to be teaching you two of the most powerful aspects of our methodology so that you can not only start to unpack the psychology that is preventing you from moving forward more quickly through these 3 stages, but we're going to work together to actually transform that thinking. So this is the Start, Grow, Scale map. There's 4 critical foundational components that are sort of taught in the marketplace, but not deeply enough, which is why we end up working with so many entrepreneurs who say, well, I thought I had this all built out, but now that I've gone through your training, your curriculum, I can see that it wasn't specific enough. And that's who your ideal client is, your messaging and market positioning, your offer structures, and the capacity to enroll, persuasion and influence skills. Over time, right? From start to grow to scale, from idea or inception to $250,000 a year. That's about $20,000 a month in average income, to $250,000 to $1 million at the growth stage, to $1 million plus, right? And the implementation and the evolution of your ideal client, your messaging, your offers, and then again, the 3 key strategies that we have found to be the most consistent, most predictable, highest return, easiest to implement strategies at each stage of growth. Okay. And then what wraps it all together is this idea that whatever you're producing in your business right now is a reflection of what you believe. If you and I were to sit down for a moment, or if I were to come and evaluate your business, I could tell you exactly what you believe. So this is the core of everything that you're going to produce. And these are the orders that we need to produce them in, right? Get your mindset right, get your foundations defined, and make sure that at every stage of growth, we're evolving our foundations and we're implementing the right strategy at the right time. Not having the right mindset, or not having your foundations in place, or implementing maybe even the right strategy, but at the wrong time. These are the reasons why we experience so much friction in taking our business from start to grow to scale.
All right, so that is the Start, Grow, Scale training. I hope you guys, that created some clarity. It looked like it did from the comments in the chat. And now we have an opportunity to actually go deeper on all of those pieces with us. So as I mentioned before, we decided this year to do a virtual event. Of course, we have our big annual event coming up in March, which is the Powerful Living Experience Live. That is 80% personal growth and 20% business. But what we wanted to do was to create an opportunity to dive into our business playbook, everything that I just mapped out in the Start, Grow, Scale framework. And so we're hosting a 3-day virtual event that is really going to be 80% business, 20% personal growth. And so I want to share with you that opportunity. I know some of you are already registered, but it is a really unique opportunity to get into our business frameworks that is normally something we only do in our high-level coaching programs. And so what I want to do with you is number two things. Number one, there's going to be a button that shows up on your screen. Okay, and it's going to talk about save my seat for the 3-day virtual intensive, November 8th through November 10th. So I'm going to make that available to you now. The second thing is I'm going to share my screen to walk through with you the details of this opportunity, because what I just shared with you is helping you focus on the things that are going to move the lever in your business. And the next step is to actually get into each of those pieces and get them defined for you or redefined for you or fill in the gaps depending on where you are right now in your business growth. So I'm going to share my screen with you if I can do this. We'll see. And share, let's see. I don't know if this is actually being shared with you right now. Let me see. Okay, it is. Perfect. So when you click on the button that has appeared on your screen, and do me a favor, guys, just because I'm in Argentina, I don't have my team with me. Let me know if you can see the screen where I'm showing you the 3-day business and mindset virtual intensive checkout page. You can just say, I can see it in the chat box. That'd be really, really helpful for me. And then I'll scroll through it with you and talk about what we've put together and all of the bonuses that we're including. Now, in the past, this was a $997 event that we had done. It is not a $997 investment. It is a $97 investment this year. Again, it's going to be taking place November 8th, November 9th, and November 10th. We're going to be running from about 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time until around 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So for some of you, it'll be early morning. For some of you, it'll be late nights. For some of you, it'll be right in the sweet spot. And you're going to get access to a couple of different things here. Number one, when you register for $97, you're going to have access to an event box. Now, you only have access to this if you register in the next 2 days, because the fulfillment company can only guarantee us getting the event box to you if you get registered and save your seat over the next 48 hours. But what we're basically going to be shipping to you is a box. The box is going to have a number of goodies that we're going to work through together. One of those is actually a transformational tool called the identity shifting process. We have to ship that to you. The other is that you're going to get access to the 2-day business and mindset workbook, which is, I don't know what it is now, 180 pages, 200 pages of some of the best business and mindset content we've ever put together. And so all you need to do is complete step 1, which is contact information, and complete step 2, which is your billing information. Make sure we've got the right shipping information, and we will ship you the box. Okay. Now, there's a couple of other bonuses that you're going to get when you enroll. Those are on the page, but we'll look at them here briefly together. Again, once you get registered, you'll have access to the 3-day intensive. You'll get the physical event box and workbook. Then you're going to get a pre-event preparation call. So that's a call that my team is going to run in order to make sure that you're prepared, in order for you to set an intention, in order for you to get clear on the challenges, so that when you come into the event, you know what to focus on. Because this is a fulfillment event that my high-level coaching clients have access to. And so this is not something where I'm going to be going framework light. Like, we're diving in. There's breakout rooms. My coaches are going to be there. My executive team is going to be involved. We're going to be working with you on your client, on your messaging, on your offers, on your enrollment, on your strategies. So we're going to prepare you for this event. That's one of the bonuses. The other thing is that you're going to get access to a private Facebook group with all of the attendees of the event. This is a wonderful place to network. to start building relationships before, during, and after the event. And I don't know about you, but when Carol and I first got started, one of the biggest challenges that we had was we didn't have a network. And so rather than complain about the fact that your network isn't that big, we're creating an environment where you can start to build your network or expand a network that you may already have. The third thing is we're going to have private coaching rooms at the event. So we're going to be doing breakouts where you're working with Cody, my copywriter, you're working with Jared, my director of sales, you're working with my coaches on all these components that I showed you in the Start, Grow, Scale methodology. And you're going to get access to a 30-minute complimentary one-on-one coaching session during the event. So we're going to carve out some time for my team to actually get on a virtual call with you during the event to dive into the details of your business and to support you in coming up with a game plan so that you can finish the year strong and crush 2025, whether you're just getting started or looking to grow and scale. Now, as you go through on the next page, there will also be an opportunity, should you choose, to upgrade to VIP. VIP comes with a series of other bonuses. I'll explain that on the next page after you get registered. But right now, your only focus needs to be a $97 ticket to get access to all 3 full days. Again, we've never done this before. 2 years ago, it was $997, but we wanted to make this as available as possible to you because we know that entrepreneurship can change your life and you're meant to change other people's lives through entrepreneurship. And so when you get registered, do me a favor and just comment in the chat that you're registered. If you're already registered or if you're enrolling now, I'm going to, again, the button is on the page. I'm going to leave this open for another couple of minutes here. Super simple. You click, you fill out the information. It's a one-time $97 payment and you're locked in for the event. And we'll put together the box. We'll ship it to your house. Again, there's a deadline for that, which is the next 48 hours. But why put it off? Because you could just do it now and we can celebrate together. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, come back on. I'm going to look in the chat box to answer any questions you have, and we'll go from there. So let's see. Courtney says, if we purchase the live event in March, is the November event included? I believe the team is applying a discount. There are some options for you to choose from, Courtney. Of course, we want you to be able to participate in both. So do me a favor. Again, I'm without my full team here right now. Just email support@davidbear.com with the question. And I know that we came up with a protocol for people who had registered for the March event and also want to participate in the November event. And these two events go perfect together, right? Again, we're going to be unpacking the business strategies, tactics, and playbooks at this upcoming virtual event, November 8th through 10th. And then for you to have the opportunity to actually join us in person in March, for us to spend 80% of the time on mindset, man, what a fantastic 1-2 combination. Hazel said, I already signed up but can't attend Friday. Will there be a replay? We don't have a replay for the virtual event, Hazel, but you will be able to catch up. And again, you can email the team. Maybe they're putting some other things in place, but as far as I know, the virtual event is delivered live and we historically do not have replays for that. But excited that you registered. Is the event going to be filmed and sent to us to watch later if we can't watch? No, this is something that we deliver live. And again, the material we go into is 3 days of unpacking what we teach in our 30K coaching program. So it's not something that we're recording and socializing with other people. Can you ship to India address as I am traveling? Samal, I think we can. I would get registered and then email the team and ask them that question. Rukuma says, I'm so excited. Courtney says, this is awesome. Alexandra can't wait. Valerie, I'm interested in this, but noticed in the comments that none of the 3 days will be available on replay. I have non-negotiable commitments on all Friday. That's true. No, as I mentioned before, we're not recording this. It's the same way that we don't record our live events and provide recordings of it. Honestly, the information is just too valuable for us to want to be socialized. If you can make some, if not all, of the event, 100% worth it. We're talking about a $97 investment. So even if you can only make day 1, or even if you can only make day 2, frankly, even if you can only make day 3, absolutely worth doing. Again, if you have any other questions, reach out to the team. Rukuma's registered. Alexander's enrolling now. Hazel's registered. Connie's registered. Fantastic. Courtney had the question, what happens if you already purchased the March live event? I thought this was included. We did do an early bird special for the March event. And so there are a handful of you that have access to this. And we have been emailing you to register to save your complimentary seat for the virtual event. So if you haven't yet, check your emails and email the team, support@davidbear.com. And again, I will put that in here if you believe that you already purchased another program and you have complimentary access to the 3-day virtual intensive. So awesome. Courtney says, I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to meet you. The VIP is for, there's two different things, right? There's the Powerful Living Experience in March. Some of you are registered and you've upgraded to VIP. There's the virtual intensive, which is coming up in November, which is more focused on business and a little bit of mindset. There's a VIP opportunity there. That VIP opportunity is a dinner Q&A with me. It's a pre-call directly with me for 90 minutes with additional trainings. All the information is on the thank you page after you save your seat with the $97 investment. Let's see. Data is registered. Let's see. Amanda's begging for a replay. I understand. But again, you'll have to check with the team. As far as I know, no, we do not record and send out a replay. But maybe you can convince them to do a temporary replay for like 72 hours or something like that. Maybe if enough people email and say, hey, I want to do it, but I can't attend, you can twist the team's arm. Simal, do you serve B2B clients? Absolutely, we do B2B clients. I see very little difference from my business methodology between business to consumer and business to business. I've been in business to business positions. I have business to business components of my business today. You need an ideal client, irresistible messaging, scalable offers, enrollment skills, presentations and educational marketing, the ability to start, grow, and scale as a business. Guys, what you'll find is that whether you're in B2B or B2C, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a service provider, or something else, 70 to 80% of what we teach is just fundamental business methodology. And so what you're going to be getting is an entrepreneurial MBA combined with the most advanced mindset technologies in the market. And those are really the two things you need to be successful as an entrepreneur. That and patience and time, right? So I am confident that if anybody is here interested in entrepreneurship and start, grow, or scale, this is an event that you do not want to miss. Let's see. Just found the email I was questioning. Yeah, great. Karen, you got it. Grant is in for November and March. Grant, that's awesome. I'm telling you, this is such a beautiful pairing, these two events. Alexandra's registered. Adam, is PLE in-person only? Adam, right now, PLE is in-person only. A lot of what we do there is in-person required. But we've entertained the idea of doing something different. Right now, though, it doesn't make sense based on the format of PLE. So why don't you just get there in person? How about that? Because I would love to see you and meet you in person, as I'm sure the other 1,200 entrepreneurs who are going to be there would love to meet you in person as well. Let's see. Yvonne, the 3-day event, which one is the mindset portion? Right. So day 1 is all the business tactics and strategies and the business playbook. Day 2, once we've unpacked everything, which is naturally going to start to bring up resistance, right? Even some of you were feeling the resistance in this training. So a lot of information. How am I going to do it all? How am I going to do it on my own? Day 2 is about mindset because it's going to surface a lot of the resistance. And day 2, we'll work on the resistance. Day 3, as we've transformed a lot of the resistance and you've got the tools to manage resistance moving forward. Day 3, we're actually going to plan. I'm going to share with you my planning frameworks and my planning methodologies, and we're going to put a plan together. So day 1, business. Day 2, mindset. Day 3, implementation. Great. Let's see. Samal, thanks. Thank you, David. You're welcome. David Bogan. Linda, I am in. Can't wait. Linda, I'm excited that you're in. Valerie, registered for this virtual event. Even if I can't make all 3 days, we'll try to change your team's mind on offering a recording. Hey, go to it. To me, it's the same thing. I'm going to be on a virtual stage for 3 days, pouring everything I have into you guys. So maybe you can convince him. Alexandra, you will receive a confirmation email. You should get it almost immediately. Just make sure you check your spam, check your promotions tab. And if for whatever reason in the next, 15 minutes, you don't get something, just email the team. I'll put it again here in the comment box, support@davidbear.com. Great. Yvonne says, awesome. Awesome, Yvonne. Hello, David. I love your work, podcasts, and books. You've already changed me. I'm at a standing start without even a business idea. I'm a corporate employee Am I too early to join this course? 97 is a steal, but what do I do when I don't even have an idea on business? This is such a great question. So how many of you, just say me in the comment box, are like, look, I know that I want to start something. I know I want to figure out what I'm passionate about. I know I want to break free from the traditional culture of a job. And maybe it's a side hustle for a little while. Maybe it's full time, but you don't have yet even an idea. Just type me in the chat box. What I found is that if you come in and you get an education around how business works, being in that energy, being in that information, being in that frequency starts to inspire and catalyze ideas, right? And it only makes sense. So get into the education. Plus, I think it's fun. I don't know if you enjoy hanging out with me, but I think it's a lot of fun. So come in and get educated for a $97 investment. And when you're in that space, you may say, you know what, or as other people share, or as we're doing some coaching sessions, or I share my own stories, you're like, hey, like, I think I'm starting to get some clarity around it. I can't tell you how many people come to our events without an idea, but just an inclination, and they leave going, you know what, I think I've got an idea here. Or that clarity starts to fill in now that they have all the information, right, after the event. And it's kind of like anything else. You know, if we're going to spend 3 days, you know, talking about recipes, you'd come up with some new recipes on your own that you really wanted to create. Well, these are business recipes. And so I think it's a fantastic thing for you to do if you've been sort of sitting on the entrepreneurial sideline, but there's this whisper inside of you that there might be something more. Come and learn. That's in many ways the way that I started. It's the way that most of the people in our community start. They went to an event. They decided that they wanted to create sovereignty or freedom in their lives, that they wanted to make a greater impact. And the best way to start to get clarity is to be around other people who are doing the same thing. You know, I won't be long with the story because I want to answer a few other questions. But if you want to get good at anything, you hang out with other people who are also working on getting good at the same thing together. You know, I share my story in my background. Part of my background is, you know, being an alcoholic, being a drug addict. It's like, if you want to get sober, you go hang out in rooms with other sober people. That's how you get sober. You know, you want to be a great musician, you hang out with other musicians. You want to be fantastic at martial arts, you got to get in the studio and hang out with other people who are great at martial arts. And we all walk into the studio for the first time, not really sure what it's going to be like, not really sure if this is the thing that we want to do. And that's the way that we actually get clarity around it. Unfortunately, what most people do is they sit on the sideline until they have an idea, but then they're sitting on the sidelines for the rest of their life. Does that make sense? So such a fantastic question. And I'm really glad that you brought it up. And then, of course, everything we're doing on day 2 on mindset, that's relevant to every area of your life. It's relevant to business, to wealth, to health, to relationships, to spiritual connection, right? This mindset thing is the root cause for everything that you're creating. So you can't go wrong. Such a great question. Thank you. Cool. So I see there's a bunch of you in here, right? Like Susan, Courtney, Graham, Sherry, another Susan, Diana, you know, Rich. You guys should all be at the event. Like, what do you have to lose? The cost of a cup of coffee over the course of a month? I mean, if you go to Starbucks, you're spending more on Starbucks in 30 days, a lot more actually than being able to participate in this event. So just, what does Nike say? Just do it. Cool. Suchi says, what a great answer, you legend. I'm getting in now. Awesome. Maybe you will change me some more. You've told me my next step. Just take the next step. Yeah. Amen to that. That's awesome. Karen says, I actually wake up each day with my cup of coffee and watch you. You probably saved me. Really glad I found you. Had given up on self-help as it was just missing something. Well, Karen, I'm glad you're here. That's why we do what we do. Nancy asked about the recording so far. Oh, recording for this. Yes. About 24 hours. You'll get an email right after this. You can come back and watch the recording. Ultimately, the opportunity is for us to spend 3 days together, November 8th through 10th at the virtual event. Suchi says, no more sidelines. Kathy says, I'm sold. I'm in. Awesome, Kathy. Good for you. Kelly says, so excited for November. Thanks for all you do. You're welcome, Kelly. And Courtney says, I will be there November and March. Let's do it, people. You know, what did the greatest personal development teacher in the history of the world say? Now is the appointed time. You know, that's what the Jesus told us. So do it. Stop waiting and just do it. Stop letting the fear and, you know, the reasons and the excuses hold you back, because you're meant for something really great in the world. And I'm sure you are already doing things that are great, but there's so much more available to you. And so make it happen. Zosia says, I can't afford the event at this time. Guess I'm not ready yet. But Zosia, you know what? You got another week or two that you could register for the event. So why don't you make a decision and go make it happen? You know, that could be your biggest breakthrough ever. Is that rather than just saying, I guess I'm not ready yet, saying, no, I am ready yet, and I am going to figure it out, and go make $97. I know in some parts of the world, that's not the easiest thing to do. Even better, go prove to yourself that there's nothing that can hold you back, right? Because that is the new nervous system. That is the muscle that you want to be building. So you've still got time. Do it. Just make it happen. I believe in you. Believe in yourself and push through it. Let's see. Anything else here? Thank you, Zosia, for that. Courtney, thank you. You've changed my life. Alexandra, your podcast is incredible. Thanks. I'm enjoying the podcast, and I love being able to share with you guys. I feel like I'm sitting down having my cup of coffee a couple times a week with you all. Graham got his ticket or her ticket, and I'm sorry that I don't know how to say your name, Mr. and Mrs. McLish, but excited that you said yes, especially since you're at the early stage. Let's get you started in the right direction on the right foot. Nancy says, thank you. Love your stuff. Kathy, I guess making this decision took away a choice. Kathy, that's awesome. It did. Yeah. Eliminate the choice of I'm not ready. Mary X says, thank you so much. Have to go. You're welcome. Connie, love your work. Look forward to both events. Connie, awesome. Good for you. It's a double whammy. And Will Carter is in. So love you guys. Listen, what a great way to spend, at least for me, a Friday afternoon from Buenos Aires. And excited to be spending more time with you in the virtual event, and excited to keep on keeping on and see all of you at the March event. So let's do it, right? We're on a mission together, and we can make this happen. And this is not a do-it-yourself project. This is a do it with others. And if you're willing to take the leap, and like I said before, invest the time, invest the energy, invest the money, all things will happen for you that are part of your vision. Just requires doing it with others and being patient. So we're going to give you some fantastic frameworks so that you can do things faster with less friction. And we're going to do it together. So awesome. Andre says coming in November and live to PLE from Slovenia. Oh, can't wait to meet you. That's awesome, Andre. Grant, super grateful. Listen to your book, gifted it to others. Thank you, Grant, for spreading the work. Listen to your podcast every day. Content is gold. May I gift Zosia Osawaska her ticket price? Well, Suchi, that's amazing. I think you can, and that's so generous. And you can message Suchi directly, and or you can message Zosia directly. And Zosia's biggest breakthrough might be that she pays for herself. Just keep that in mind. So beautiful, beautiful. Seeing what you guys are doing together. And Suchi, you can message Zosia directly right now. Get the email address. You're going to get an email with a link back to the checkout page. You can make it happen if that's the direction you guys decide to go into. Beautiful, beautiful thing. What a beautiful sentiment, right? Helping each other help more people. So that's awesome. Karen just took the leap. Congratulations. Hilaria is going to be joining us in November as well. Yes, Kathy, ending it perfectly. May all you be blessed. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody. If you need any support, email the team. It's been an honor and privilege to be with you here today. Like every time we get to be together, looking forward to the 3-day virtual intensive, looking even beyond that to the powerful living experience. And you know what? Let's do them both together. So I love you guys. I'll leave this up for another couple of minutes in case for whatever reason you need to just click on the button because you've been sitting on the fence. And I will see you soon.